Florida State is not going to hire an A-list coach.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda, Move and Be Moved. We're going to highlight some of the big games in college football this weekend with, quite honestly, Florida State being off, and it's still another interesting weekend. I want to talk about it a little bit. And in conjunction with that, this certainly impacts Florida State, the ridiculousness of the, if you haven't heard already, all the stuff going on with the NBA, the arrests, players, etc., giving out injury information on other players, hints on who is and who isn't going to play, why the gambling industry impacts everybody, and yes, directly impacts Florida State. We're going to get into that a little later in the show, but the first part of the show, probably the first 15 minutes, it's straightforward. I'm going to explain in several different scenarios why hiring an A-list coach for Florida State or anybody else is all but impossible. If you take nothing else from this show, take the following. A-list coach is this, has won a national title already, is willing to leave, is an elite recruiter because they want to be an elite recruiter, meaning naturally personable. They're good with going out and dealing with NIL and all that stuff. They're good with being away from their family. They're good with being a closer. Like recruiting is 80% of this game, or talent acquisition / transfer portal / recruiting. How many are good in all those categories? And again, they've got to have a ring. It's got to be proven. Is Kirby leaving? No. Is Dabo leaving? No, not that anybody wants him now. Is Ryan Day leaving Ohio State? Nope. Who else would be on that list? There is no A-list coach for anybody. And again, I'm not throwing this at Florida State, but I've seen especially Florida fans, like they just think they're going to get whoever. Many of them, not all, many of them. Their message board I went to today for entertainment value. I went back. It is comical. There is no guarantees in college coaching searches, and I'm about to tell you why. It starts with personality and fit, not for what you think they would want to do as a coach, but for their family. From dealing with people and being around the coaches all over, high school, 7-on-7, college, even just trainers, it's the same thing. Do I or do I not want to move my family to point A to point B? It's a yes or no. And that has a lot to do with how old are my children? Do I want to move them with what they have going on? That'll trump millions of dollars. I've watched it happen. People can get mad as they want. And I've seen like Ole Miss fans today trying to say that Ole Miss is a better job than Florida for the right guy. But in general, it's not close. It's a lot easier to win at Florida. But again, for Kiffin, it may be. His family, he just got back with his ex. She lives in Oxford now. He has 2 daughters at Ole Miss. That is not an easy decision. And just to use it as an example, Ole Miss, especially if they win this weekend against Oklahoma, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Ole Miss has a chance to go to the playoff. Is the entirety of the Bull Gator Club at UF willing to wait into January, watch their roster get raided, watch their recruiting class possibly crumble because Kiffin's not going to give up a chance to go into the playoff and do something? Not that I blame him, because he wouldn't be available to say something until January? I highly doubt that. There are all kinds of complex problems, but timing is still, without a doubt, the biggest one. And then again, it goes back to that family stuff. That's part of timing too. Maybe Lane just lets his daughters hang out at Ole Miss and he moves down to Gainesville. I don't know. That's possible. But every coaching search, just like the one the Gators are going through, and the one I think Florida State soon will be, has obstacles like this. The family is first. And I know a coach flat out, the reason he didn't take a job and he's still at a program, now somebody else is trying to poach him, the reason he didn't take a job a couple of years ago His wife didn't like the place that he was going. She said no. That is a major factor. People can get mad all they want again, and I'm not going to out the coach, but that's how this works. It's not a one-person decision. It is a family decision. Now we can get into fun stuff like, well, I'd make an extra million here or there. If you're making more than $5 million a year, if you're really complaining about $500K or $1 million or whatever, I don't have any, personally, I don't have any say in it, but I don't have any bad feelings for you or anything, but I don't feel bad for you either. Like, you're millionaires. What that ride. Where do you want to coach, and are you going to be able to give 100%? Those are the people that end up being true A-listers, meaning you get a ring, and then if you want to make a lateral move and be that exception, go right ahead. But for Florida State, I put up the Fran Brown piece for Thursday. And I meant it. I think he's got a kind of guy you should at least interview. I don't know if I'd have him top of the board for Florida State. And I have no order to how I'm doing this. I'm going to do something on Jeff Brom over the weekend. I think he would be as good a hire as there is in college football that doesn't have a ring. Again, Kirby's not taking the Florida State job. It's not happening. Nobody wants Dabo. Ryan Day's not leaving Ohio State. There are no A-list coaches. So this, again, while this is a Florida State podcast, this is to anybody. If you've got a friend who's a Gator, if you've got a friend that's a Virginia Tech fan, or NC State, by the way, might come open. I guarantee you in advance, if he steps down, guarantee the following. There will be NC State fans mad that they didn't get like an A-list guy. That's how just out of their mind, some college football fans are. And yes, I know fan stands for fanatic. It's short for that. But what is an elite coach? Again, elite recruiter, has a ring already, knows what it looks like to run a program, dealing with all the media. Those people don't make lateral moves. They just don't. So with that, here in just a second, I'm going to go down my list of a bunch of coaches, why they would make sense for everybody to at least call. I'm not saying guarantee hire or anything, and 99% of these coaches, people that are Florida State fans or otherwise, are going to scoff at. But this is the list. Who are you getting? This is for all fans, not just Florida State, for all fans. Who are you getting? We're going to talk about that next, right here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Mazda and moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board, that move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. For Florida State, even though they lost against Stanford, it is obvious that Mekhi Danzy has become just a special player. Anytime the ball goes in his direction, I kind of hold my breath. He's one of the rare guys just in college football, not even Florida State, that is special. He is moving the game forward for college football and Florida State, and he should be recognized. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst, bringing you reality and honesty each and every day on this network. Going to tell it like it is with recruiting, the portal, with coaching changes, how the team played or didn't. Anything that's real, that's what I talk about. So if you want reality, this is the channel for you. Like and subscribe. And if you're on Apple, please hit that automatic download. Now, I want to just, this is in no particular order, by the way. I want to go down the list. I've got some A-list guys for what's available. It's not truly A-list because, again, nobody that I think is available has won a ring. If you haven't won a ring, you're not A-list. But that being the case, I'm just going to give some general comments on whether or not I think they could fit in the South / at FSU or why they're at where they are, etc. Just names and we're just going to let it rip. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. He is probably only going to go to the NFL or Ohio State, barring something unforeseen. He's a guy that's an elite recruiter, loves it, which is very rare in today's era. And he's somebody that actually lets his assistants coach. He doesn't try to call plays, etc. He's got a pretty good gig at Notre Dame and even converted to Catholicism. I'm sure Florida would still like to get him, and they should absolutely go after him. Why not? All you can do is say no. But anybody that does is probably going to get turned down. Great coach. I think if he leaves Notre Dame, the most likely would eventually be the NFL, but I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Matt Campbell at Iowa State. This is an intriguing one. Like Freeman, he's from Ohio, Midwest guy, and he's still in the Midwest. But no offense to Iowa State, there's a ceiling that he's kind of reached. How good are they going to be after Rocco Becht leaves? If he's going to go, I'm curious if he's interested in the Penn State job. I've heard that his dream gig is Michigan. Well, good for him, but that's what it is. I don't know what the tie is there, but it's Michigan. That job's not open. Penn State's pretty enticing. If he doesn't get involved with that, maybe he's at Iowa State for 20 years or something. But are you ever going to win a title at Iowa State? I don't know. He's been really creative with who he's hired on his defensive staff and let him coach. And I think that's one of the reasons he's been successful, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him move on. Lane Kiffin. This one is the closest to an A-list hire as there is. And if you look at his record against top 10 teams, it's atrocious. He hasn't gotten it done, but he's at Ole Miss. He's finally got that roster to a point where they could be competitive consistently. They almost beat Georgia 2 years in a row. That's impressive. Got to get better on defense. May need a different staff in some way, shape, or form at this spot or this spot. He's the closest thing to it. And at the end of the day, I have no idea if he'll take the Florida job for the same reason that I brought up in the first part of this show, timing. He's going to be in the playoff more than likely. If they win this weekend, it would almost be impossible not to make it. Their schedule for the SEC this year is a little bit, to be honest, underwhelming. They do play Oklahoma on the road this weekend. They screw around, they will definitely lose that game because OU's defense is legit. If they win that game, it becomes a lot harder for the Gators. I don't think he's going to be able to turn down the opportunity to go to the playoff. And that, again, that would probably put him into a situation where if he's lucky enough, he might even get a bye. It's possible. But the worst case scenario, he's playing in late December and all that. It's going to be interesting to see what Florida and other schools do with him. I've heard Jeff Brom flat out doesn't have an interest in UF. That shows you how loyal he is. And it kind of goes back to my point earlier. Hey, Jimbo left, and that was the first A-list hire from a lateral situation that we've seen in 40 years. Brom is one of those, he's not even an A-list school and he didn't make the move. Now, you're not, I know Jeff will argue with this, you're not winning a title at Louisville until otherwise proven. That's what I say. But that's his alma mater. He played there. His family's there. That's going to be rough. I think the only place that Brom is going to go, if it's true that he really had no interest in UF, is the National Football League. He's one heck of a quarterback coach. We'll see if he ever goes anywhere. Eli Drinkwitz. This one is a little more volatile. He's been an assistant until he got the gig at Missouri, and obviously he's a good football coach. Most offensive minds want to tinker too much, throw the football too much. He's not done that. In fact, Drinkwitz has done the opposite. They run the football. They play defense. He lets his defensive staff do their thing. They lost their defensive coordinator at LSU, and their defense hadn't missed a beat. He understands hiring. Out of everybody, he is the best high floor guy among the BB plus list. He's right there with Kiffin. To be honest, I would rather have Drinkwitz at most programs because he's very basic in terms of what he does. They just execute like crazy. I think he's a guy that if he went to a Michigan, if he went to a Texas or a Florida or Florida State, could kill it. But again, I heard that he wasn't really interested in the Florida job. That surprised me a little bit. But maybe he doesn't want to be in one of those situations with those jobs. I don't know the guy. Some of these coaches I have contacts through other people and this and that. I really don't know Drinkwitz, but I respect what he's done at Missouri because that's not a program you win at a lot. Good for him if he stays, and if he leaves, I get it too. Dan Lanning. At some point, I expect him to leave, but I expect two parts here. Number one, he wants to at least to get, in my opinion, to a national title game at Oregon. Phil Knight is the greatest booster of all time. It's a good gig. You've got pretty much carte blanche there with NIL, and it's not hard to sell the program with all the Nike stuff they've got going on. The only way he's leaving is if it's LSU, if it's Bama, if it's Georgia. I don't know if Florida made an overture to him, but I haven't heard his name. I'm a little surprised by that. But he's a South guy. He was on Bama staff. He was a Georgia staff. That's somebody I could see eventually moving back down there. But I think he wants to win a little more at the college level in Eugene. Just my opinion. Kenny Dillingham, somebody Florida State fans are very familiar with. He, just like with some of these other guys, including Jeff Brom, is now at his alma mater at Arizona State. He's not an A-list coach. Again, like none of these guys are truly A-list by my definition, but he's about as close as it gets because he fights, man. He's a scrappy guy. His offense is fun. His players love him. He's trying to get more NIL at Arizona State. And by the way, their NIL is concerning. It's sad that it is. I don't know the reason for it. I'm not close to ASU, but that's a problem. But it doesn't sound like he really wants to leave. He's got everything in front of him. If he stays, so be it. But at some point, if they don't back him the way he needs them to, not the way they think, he's going to leave. That would be my guess. This is the one guy I see leaving because at some point, it's going to hit him and it's going to make him mad. He's going to lose a recruit, a portal player, or both. And he's going to be like, screw this. That's the exception. Florida State's, I know some people complain about their NIL, and myself included to a certain degree, but it's not like Arizona State. Trust me. That is a problem. Now on to some of the guys in Tier 2 right now that I think can be Tier 1, depending on how you want to put it in perspective. But Brent Key might be that guy. I just haven't seen him do it anywhere else. And my concern with him, they play down to their competition sometimes. They play up. Florida State knows that last year, and they've given Miami problems. They've given other teams problems, but they're not consistent. But he's still really close. For what he has at Georgia Tech, they're physical. He's a line coach, which is good. He's a former lineman, and they don't go away from their identity. He is a pure football coach, and I respect that man wholeheartedly. Now, Buster Faulkner, maybe if I had to hire one of them, I'd still take Faulkner, and he's the coordinator because he's a quarterback coach. That's just me. But I understand if somebody wants to get Key. I get it. I do. I don't think he's going to leave either. This is another guy that's at his alma mater. See a trend here? It's going to be hard. I think Florida, just as an example, since they're already open, I think Brent Key would be an elite hire for them based on what's available. Would Florida's fan base accept that? Of course not. They're not going to accept anything. It's the Florida fan base. They're rabid. But I think he would win pretty well at that program. Having said that, just keep an eye on the Florida fans. It'll be entertaining for you. Manny Diaz, this is one that could go a lot of different directions. He's been mentioned a little bit with Penn State. Is that going to work out? Is that a good thing if he leaves? He's doing a heck of a job at Duke. He was obviously a bust at Miami. That's his home city. He's got a family member that I think was mayor, whether it's his dad or uncle or somebody, was the mayor of Miami at one point. Didn't work out, but he wasn't a natural recruiter. That's a problem. Now, he can scheme it up on defense, and he still lets his coaches coach. But is he better at a Duke than he is at a Penn State where it's just a crazy fan base, a lot more pressure? Probably. He was the DC up there, but he's been mentioned for it. Maybe he gets mentioned for NC State or Virginia Tech or who knows, whatever other job. He's a good coach, but I could see why people would be a little concerned with him. The one that I've talked about on this show, and I think everybody should look at, is Rhett Lashley. I think he should be ranked higher. Again, no ring, but offensive-minded. He's been a coordinator for 11 years, plus being a head coach. He was a coordinator against Florida State, ironically, when he was at Auburn in 2013. That was kind of an important game. He had a lot of success there. He had success when he went to Miami. He's had success now that he's at SMU, taking guys that are 3 stars and coaching them up. What a concept. Sounds like something that a guy by the name of Bobby Bowden did really, really well when he built the Florida State Seminoles. So Rhett Lashley is somebody I think that should get more love, and I'm not sure why he's not. But while it's not his alma mater, he's an Arkansas guy for the record, and I'm sure they're going to try to get him. SMU's got deep pockets. Like, that's oil money. That's Dallas business money. It's going to be hard. So hiring a head coach, again, there are a lot of reasons. James Franklin. I don't even have him tier 1, and here's why. He is a terrible game day coach until otherwise proven. His big game performance, I know that's as straightforward as it gets, and it's low-hanging fruit. I don't trust in him. Sounds like he understands culture. Sounds like he understands recruiting. He understands evaluations. But making the right call at the right time is still the end-all be-all. He's not it. Now, if you want a guy that's going to win you 8 games or more every year, yeah, he's going to do that. He's probably going to do that. But it got sour at Penn State and things went sideways. That's one of the craziest endings I've ever seen. It is what it is. And then finally, just one guy I want to mention. We'll talk about some more. I've still got plenty more I could go over. Alex Golish at USF. I don't think he'll end up at Florida or Florida State, but those kinds of schools should at least interview him, not just for this search, but if whoever you hire, it goes sideways in 3 years, you're going to have more reference. He was at UCF. He was at Tennessee. He's an offensive guy. His offense has been pretty darn good. It's dynamic. He went into the swamp and won. He is a good coach. I don't know where he's going to go or if he's going to go, but I'm sure his opportunities will be pretty impressive. I expect him to do well, not just now, but wherever he goes in P4. He's got a plan. And that offense that they run is not a lot of fun to deal with. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the college football weekend and the craziness with the gambling industry, with what's going on in the NBA, and how it directly impacts Florida State. That is next, right here. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP, Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it matters most. Let's break it down. For Florida State, I want to look at this from a broader perspective. I hope he's okay, and he took a really bad hit, but Tommy Castellanos really went out of his way to play hard for the Noles. That touchdown run, that was crazy down by the goal line. Then he got hit later in the game when he got knocked out. He plays 100 mile an hour. He deserves all the admiration in the world. So just like Tommy played really hard for Florida State, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays each and every weekend. And every Saturday when you order, you can stack it up all season and save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo good through November 18th. We are also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season's rolling, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. $5 down for new customers, and you can win $300 in bonus bets across the app. So if you want to bet on the Bills, if you want to bet on the Niners, the Colts, the Texans, the Cowboys, anybody else, just traditional, you can do that. But you can also bet on parlays, money lines, player props, and do just about anything you want on FanDuel. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today. All right, it's time to explain what craziness this gambling stuff, and if you haven't seen it, please go look it up, in the NBA is. A bunch of players, even guys like current players, former players, are being arrested, literally. Why? Because they were giving away injury information that wasn't supposed to be given out to bettors. Yeah, that's probably not going to go well. So that brings up the big question. Do college football players do that? And B, how many college football players are even honest with their own team and trainers? Let me give you an example. I know straightforward multiple times in my life that players have told me they weren't healthy, but people on that staff didn't know about it. That's A to B conversations. So yes, it impacts Florida State because I guarantee it happens. And this is why I personally don't put money down. It scares me to death. And the stuff with the NBA, that's on a whole nother level. I'll get to that in a second. But players want to get as many reps as possible to at least get drafted. That's the problem. There's no way to fix that. The first thing the NFL looks at, or the NBA, MLB, soccer, anything else, are you available? Are you available? I've had so many coaches tell me your best ability is your availability. I will never be able to forget that phrase. Players don't always tell their team when they're hurt. It's a problem, but there's no way to fix it. And to that end, again, going back to the NBA thing, this also impacts why bettors want this. They know the same thing that I just talked about. That's why they want other people that are on rosters or in the management side of thing. Hey, I know so-and-so is not on the injury report, but in the NBA, they won't tell anybody. So-and-so will just sit out. Remember when the Spurs, Duncan and those guys, David Robinson, they'd sit out games to save themselves for the playoffs? Same thing. It's true. And the only reason the NBA fines teams and all that is because of gambling. It's just true on that end too. But bettors don't want to get hosed on it. Can't blame them. But now apparently they were paying some people that were on rosters, and some that have now retired or out of the league, and they got caught. Again, if you have not seen this, go look it up. I thought it was some kind of hoax when I saw it on X. Then I looked it up on Google, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. There was even somebody that allegedly, keyword allegedly, although it wasn't LeBron himself, giving out information on LeBron's status because, again, as I say all the time here on Locked On Seminoles, there is no such thing as an accurate injury report. 0% chance. Zero. That's why these bettors were looking for this info. They know it. Florida State and every other team, they're always looking for injury reports. I've had college coaches for years. Hey, have you heard if this guy's playing? Because they want to change their game plan. Do you think Harbaugh and the Michigan situation? Yeah, they were stealing signs. They were cheating. I guarantee you, in conjunction with that, they were trying to get information from other schools on who was and who was not going to play. They're not the only ones, though. This impacts everybody, and I'm curious to see how the feds handle this. And what does college football do? Do they put out anything, even if it's private? Because it's not their league. But the same problem exists. Like recently, for those you don't know, Utah had a game a few weeks back. Their quarterback missed 2 practices during the week. The Dampier kid that transferred in from New Mexico, he missed 2 practices. He's obviously questionable. He wasn't even on the injury report. He played like garbage, and then it came out later that he had missed. Utah got fined. They don't care. People aren't going to give out, especially quarterback info, 0% chance. LeBron, 0% chance. Your star players, it's just not going to happen the same way. They might give you a little something. They're not giving you the 100%. How do these leagues handle this? It impacts Florida State. It impacts Miami. It impacts Auburn. Everybody in college sports and the NBA and all pro sports. How do you handle that? Coaches have no reason to be incentivized for giving everybody the info. Is there a solution to it? I'm not sure there is. Give me your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And finally, just a few notes for fun. Florida State doesn't play this weekend. Just want to talk about a few of the games that I'm interested in around college football. This is a really good weekend just to sit at home and enjoy games. There's even a decent Friday night game. Virginia Tech hosting Cal. If you have not seen the freshman quarterback, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, from Cal, that dude can flat out spin it. ESPN 7:30 on Friday. Good player. He's going to end up being an NFL guy. UCLA at Indiana, noon on Fox. That's a 27-point game, something like that. Indiana's favored. I think they'll win. But give it to Nico Iamaleava. He's improved a lot. That game's on Fox. It could be pretty interesting. Syracuse at Georgia Tech. Syracuse's offense is terrible right now because they got no quarterback situation that's good. But this is a game, like I mentioned earlier, Brent Key's teams usually play down to competition. Do they do that? Georgia Tech's ranked number 7. Are they really? That game's going to tell me something. Ole Miss at Oklahoma might be the game of the weekend. That is going to help determine who, A, makes the playoff, B, if Ole Miss has a chance to possibly be a bye. I mean, you got to get to the SEC title game. It could be. We'll see. Oklahoma, Mateer, is he healthy? That's a really intriguing game. Virginia at North Carolina. No idea what's going to happen. Carolina's been terrible, but Virginia has way overexceeded. Will they run over the Tar Heels in Chapel Hill? It's plausible, but it's not a guarantee by any means whatsoever. Once we get into some of the games in the afternoon, Alabama at South Carolina, I think Carolina will give them a game for a little while, but that'll get ugly. ESPN Game Day is going to be at Vanderbilt. Say that, I mean, just saying that is wild. They're number 10. They're hosting number 15, Missouri. I think that game, if I had to pick, I would go with Vandy, but it's hard to say. Missouri's got a heck of a running back. We're going to see if Mark Hardy gets rolling. That could be tough, but Vanderbilt's well coached, and Diego Pavia, is really talented. BYU at Iowa State. Iowa State's run game needs to get going, and the run defense needs to get going because BYU's a physical team. That's going to be interesting. Rocco's probably going to have to make some pretty good throws, or BYU's going to win that game by, I think, double digits. Illinois at Washington. Does Illinois play well on the road? I'm just kind of curious about that in general. Moving on down the slate just a little bit further, kind of looking at some of the night games. It's not necessarily an unbelievable slate at night, but there are a few games that are all right as well. Miami hosts Stanford. Miami obviously got beat by Louisville last week. Do they rebound and just kill Stanford? They should, but anything's possible, and I never trust Miami team. So kind of curious about that. A&M at LSU, that'll be the game that I watch. It'll be a lot of fun. Does LSU's offensive line ever wake up? They've had some injuries, I get it, but they just haven't had a good game yet. Good luck against A&M. And then finally, I know it's not necessarily going to be a great game. Michigan at Michigan State, it's a great rivalry. I think that's pretty cool. So we'll check that out as well. Everybody have a good one. Thank you once again for checking out Locked On Seminoles. Appreciate you stopping in. Hope you enjoy your Friday. And we'll be back this weekend. I'll do something on Sunday with regards to more coaching news. Take care. This has been Locked On Seminoles.